Good afternoon. My name is Queanbeyan and you are watching the Griffin Legal Dent Cup match of the round. The Vikings heading out onto David Campese Oval for this special fixture this afternoon. The old foes Vikings at Queanbeyan's old stomping ground. With me is club legend Phil Hawke. Phil, thanks so much for joining me.
No worries. It's a pleasure to be here in the sunshine at Campese Oval.
It is beautiful, bright, summer-like sunshine on our faces here. I didn't bring sunscreen, Phil. I think we're going to need it by the end of the day if it keeps up. It'll test the camera. It may test the players, but out here it's pretty good conditions apart from the direct sunlight.
Yes, the field is looking good. Last year we had a new irrigation system put in, and you can see the results of that.
It looks lush, and the previous game was fast-paced. Hopefully we see more of that in first grade. Both these sides, Vikings in particular, looking quite different this year with a new coach. It is the first time they've been in the match of the round. Nick Scrivener is the coach of Vikings, and new coach for Queanbeyan as well, with Paul Dillon, Ernest Silva, to get us underway here for the Vikings with a spiralling kick down the centre of the park, and reaching for it is Will Goddard, who had a great game against West last week, Phil.
Yes, he's a young bloke. He's only a colt, fresh from the ACT schoolboys last year, and surprisingly joined Queanbeyan, even though he had an opportunity to go to New Zealand to play. But he was very keen to join Queanbeyan.
Yeah, wonderful. It's an awesome community here. Why wouldn't you want to stick around as we see the Vikings take it just past the 10-metre line, sent by Bowden out to the newbie Lolosio. Bowden with quick ball once more. Lolosio shows and goes, ends up giving it to Suavine. He's taken down about 30 metres from Queanbeyan's line. The first roll of the dice through Agnes Wagner now. Vikings in attacking territory, picking out pretty much the only bit of shade on the ground as Bowden once more. Lucio with a cutout pass, but out of the hands of JP Meinhard and into White's possession for the first time this afternoon. So that battle of the 10s, Phil, will be interesting. Lolosio and Goddard, both colts, just 18 years of age is Lolosio. As we see Tiki with a breakaway, gives it back to the man who knocked it on before. No mistake this time. Meinhardt crosses for the first try of the afternoon for the Vikings, and the first points on the board in this first grade fixture. That was good use of broken play.
Yeah, well, it was a sort of ordinary kick by the halfback Josh White. But Tuaki made enough space on the left to bring the winger in Meinhard, and Meinhard went away fairly easily to score.
Yeah, Tuaki has had a stellar start to the season, setting up that one for the winger Meinhard. He's scored 4 tries this season, the leading try scorer in the competition already. And
last year he was playing just up the road here at Seaford Oval with the Queanbeyan Blues. So, he's back to his favourite sport, I think.
Yeah, across the border, and clearly he's had some success so far. So he will be the one to attempt the extra points for the Vikings. So an early mistake from Queanbeyan Whites. They come into this game favourites after winning their first 3 matches in the Griffin Legal Dent Cup, and routine conversion from Teuki.
The thing about the Queanbeyan wins, I mean, it's a funny thing. We've won 3 out of 3, but it could have easily been 0-3. They were all very close games. Last week, for example, against West, the only reason we won was because Danny Matthews from West decided to miss every kick at goal, including one from in front.
Yeah, it's the former Queanbeyan Whites player.
I think he was
split allegiances, perhaps.
Bit of sympathy there.
Yeah, not a great kicking game from West last week, but the points go to Whites. Both these sides started the season off with 1-point deficits. Vikings lost their first game to Royals by 1 point, and Queanbeyan, they won their first game by just 1 point.
Get up, bro! There,
Gungarlin, yeah. And a turnover here at the breakdown. Nadruku with his first touch of the game, just short of the halfway line now. Sending it out. Advantage over. You can hear the referee in your ears this afternoon. My name's Queanbeyan and I'm joined by Phil Hawke for the call. of the Griffin Legal John O'Dent Cup Hans Superdry match of the round.
Of course, there are plenty of players missing from both sides. Queanbeyan have Sikamedi and Isaiah Latu up with the Wallaby under-20s, and I'm sure Tuggeranong have got a few up there as well, including Lonigan. Ryan Lonigan, I think he was captain of the...
he was. He was named captain the other day. I didn't catch the result, but I believe they played yesterday, last night, against Fiji under-20s.
And, of course, there's a few of the Viking players are benching for the Brumbies tonight, including Darcy Swain. So there's a few missing.
OJ Noah's not, though. He came off the bench last week with damaging effect and takes the ball up this time. It's White's now back about 7 metres past the halfway line. 7 points to nil here after an early kicking mistake from the Whites. Josh White put it into space, and it was converted by Meinhardt of Vikings, wearing the number 11 today. One of several new faces in this Tuggeranong Vikings lineup. Holding on to the ball now for a few phases, the Whites. Tuggeranong Vikings have been quicker off the mark in the past, and this time forcing the error, not letting go of the ball, says the referee. OJ Noah, the man at the bottom of the breakdown.
Yeah, AJ received a red card last week for what was an alleged head high, but it proved to be, it was dismissed by the judiciary. The bloke slipped down and there was no contact on the head at all. So we're lucky to have him playing today, which is good.
Douch gets the ball, which did not find the touchline off Teku's boot. He finds the touchline though, and so we will come back to around the halfway mark. In the possession of Vikings. Yeah, that's a great get. Whites would have hate to have lost OJ Noah, as you said, with a few Whites players out this week. OJ Noah, a damaging man at number 8, and considering this relatively inexperienced forward pack of the Vikings, as we see Reece Griffiths with his crunching run. Quick hands there from the newbie Lolosio. Opens up a few extra metres for the Vikings, and they come back towards the centre of the park now through the very experienced hands of Sione Chula. I reckon he's announced his retirement about 4 times in the last 5 years, but he's still out there. Ryan Bowden now. Oh, low, and Tuki was not going to grab that off his bootlaces. That just proves how tall he is. He couldn't get low quick enough.
Of course, Queanbeyan's lucky enough to have Les Macon playing today. I won't even attempt to say his full name.
Leslie Leulu Ali Ali Macon.
Oh, we've done very well there.
You just got to say it quick.
So Les played last week, and in fact the Queanbeyan scrum last week dominated West, which is an unusual thing to happen, but he's certainly a great contributor to the Queanbeyan pack. Oh,
isn't he up in the front row? We've seen him have a great impact off the bench for the Brumbies, and he'll be upset not to be in Brumbies colours against the Crusaders tonight, but obviously a great club man and an awesome inclusion in today's side in this important match.
He's a bit it's unusual because he is a local junior, and so they're the ones you can be fairly proud of when they make the Brumbies from your club. And I mean, all clubs are allocated, I think, about 5 Brumbies players, but they're not always junior players that are allocated. So it is good to see him playing. We've had Andrew Smith this year as well, so and Andrew Smith had an outstanding game earlier in the season and ended up now forced his way onto the bench, and then tonight he's in the starting side. So, it just shows you can. If you can strut your stuff at the John O'Dent Cup level, that they're looking at you. Yeah,
they certainly are, and it has been a tradition for many years, Phil, that the Brumbies guys come back and work hard at this level if they're not needed at Super Rugby level, and it lifts everyone.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, Andrew Smith slotting into number 12 today for Liliafano, who's taking an extended rest, as the Whites get set to restart now through the hands of Josh White. Good scrum from both sides. You mentioned last week that Queanbeyan dominated the West scrum, and they've found a better match so far today. Toki finds the ball on his 22, picks it up and takes it himself, and safe play from the former Queanbeyan Rugby League player. A little bit slippery down there. He had to drop nice and low, did Callum Smith, to get that one. Good hands now. Here's the try scorer from earlier. Meinhardt tries to beat 2, but he gets taken down. They need support now, the Vikings. The Whites are doing well at the breakdown to keep their feet. But the referee said they crossed the line.
Someone coming from the side there.
Yeah, last week you mentioned that Queanbeyan got up over West. It was a game of 3 momentum shifts, really, wasn't it? Yeah. Queanbeyan let West back in, but held on at the end, and a little bit to work on around that 60-minute mark.
Yes, and there were plenty of cards last week as well. There were plenty of yellows, and there was that one red. So they're going to the pocket pretty quick, particularly anything that looks high.
Yeah, looking after the players is paramount. It's Matt Hogan, the referee today. As Vikings get a clean line out. They were practicing that quite routinely before the start of the game. It looked sharp over on the second field. Bowden now attacking for the Vikings, and Queanbeyan's defence was pretty good on their own line last week against West. Let's see if they can do it again. More hard work from Callum Smith. Great crossover there, back to try Henderson. Sione Tula tries to dig a hole, and he finds a way underneath the Whites' defence and underneath the posts for Sione Tula. He scored a try last week against Uni North South, backs it up with a second today. It's hard to stop a man of his size that close to the line.
There's very little he can do. I think the kicking game's got to be improved by the Whites, because the last couple of times they've kicked, you give them possession, and Tuggeranong with possession are very dangerous. It's probably better to hold the ball and try and work your way up the field without kicking it away.
And especially when you've got a couple of flyers in your back line. Nasuva's no slack, but of course Tauki has managed to get it back up to Queanbeyan's line, but well before they can reach him whenever they've kicked it out to the back.
I can't see if is Joe Langtree on the other side? I think he is.
Yes, he is today,
and he's another speedster.
That's right.
He's caused us grief in the past. So they're back 3. You don't kick to them.
No. Yeah, he could have thrown that one over, Tauki. He missed a conversion last week against the Owls, which forced the draw after Taola scored. So he would be happy to slot that one through and squash those demons.
I'll just make the point that Tuggeranong are running downhill towards the creek, which is probably worth, I'll say 10 points, just to give it a figure. But it is.
So it's 4 points to nil.
It's only a 4-point margin.
That's right. That man you just spoke about before regathers for the Vikings, Langtree, and he flirts with the sideline, but Vikings are able to keep him in. Strong run there from Jory Vavoda. Torpedo is the option from Lolosio. The 18-year-old has not looked out of place so far this afternoon. Quick hands and good kicking. Here he is, just past the 10-metre line. Was Jamie Marmont. He had a good game, a try to him last week, and he was named in the team of the round for the Griffin John Dent Cup.
In fact, I think he's been named in 2 this year.
Yeah, so 2 of 3, which is a great effort from Jamie.
Like him and Pence are the only surviving members of the 2008 Premiership team, so it's a pretty good effort for those 2 blokes. Everyone else retires when they're 30.
Excellent energy from Tuggeranong Vikings. No 30-year-olds out there today on either side. As the ball's flicked nice and quickly to Rhys Griffiths once more. It's hard to call this Tuggeranong side field because they've got 3 blokes with exactly the same long blonde hair and headgear.
I think it's a new Tuggeranong look.
That's right.
They're not wearing Ugg boots, just to top it off.
Fans of the show Vikings, perhaps, as they come up to the 10-metre line. Vikings doing really well to retain possession. We said that the surface was really nice before the start of play, Phil, but it is a little bit wet out there, so they've both sides with only one knock on between them. The ball comes back. Offside is the referee's call. We're playing advantage now. Bowden gives it back to Lolosio. And he's quickly to the try scorer, or one of, in Sione Taula. And we will come back to that offside call from earlier. So a little bit of ill discipline early on. Paul Dillon's message to the players right now?
Well, I think referee Hogan, of course, he's probably the more experienced of the group of first-grade referees at the moment. The rest of them are pretty young blokes, and they're having a go. But Hogan is a more mature approach to the game, and I think the players have a lot of respect for this bloke. So I think you'll see a nice, clean, open game, even though the Whites are giving away these odd penalties.
And so they find themselves right on their line once more. The Vikings have been known to play the Brumbies' favourite attacking option at line out this close, but they don't get the opportunity.
Stay red.
Clearing kick over the shoulder to Langtree. And he sends it back to Tukey.
And this is the issue. See, they're going to counter here and they'll make ground.
Yeah, and it's a broken field of play. Whites have not come up in a single line. The ball has come free, though, and picked up by Jones, the skipper. Douch kicks it end over end, and it may find touch. It is going to find touch just past the 22 down there. Good option from Douch, field position. I know you were saying before that they want to keep possession of the ball, but his players were not ready to back him up if he was going to take the tackle.
That's right. I just said the complete wrong thing, and he's turned it around the other way. And I see Tuggeranong got 28 blokes up there warming up, just in case.
That's right, there's full second grade side is ready to go. I asked them for their reserves list before and they couldn't tell me because they weren't sure everyone was an option. Jamie Marmot, the man we were talking about before, regathers, and this back three of Queanbeyan Whites is just as damaging as Vikings. Douch takes it up. Phil, you may be able to shed some light. We had a bit of a chat last week in commentary about, and stolen right now by Wagner. Douch tried to get back up onto his feet and find an extra few metres because he didn't have the support to drop the ball yet, but it was stripped. Now Vovoda, he hands it back. Ooh. And a big hit. Queanbeyan just past the halfway line. They want to keep Vikings in this side of the field. Henry to Tukey, and he's got one man on the inside. That looked very similar to the earlier try. Meinhardt couldn't get away, though. There were two men on his shoulders and they take him down. Wagner once more gets a few extra metres, and Vikings find themselves in familiar territory early on in this game. Queanbeyan are on their heels this afternoon. Phil Hawke.
Yes, they're certainly running at us, and we're not putting them on the deck very early, and there's plenty of support players from blokes like that, like Wagner and Meinhardt and Henderson are right up with the ball all the time. Again, we got a line out very, only about 10 metres out, and they lost the last line out on the other side, but this time you would think that they'll roll it on, and there'll be a lot of pressure on the Whites to hold them out here.
Yeah, of several lineouts, Michael Henry has only missed one. This one is his second, and it has been sent back. Goddard chooses to clear the ball again. It is a foot race now. Goddard leads the pack, so they're all onside. Meinhardt with the ball in hand sends it over his left hip and out of bounds on the full. And so it will be Queanbeyan's lineouts. We're playing all over the park this afternoon.
We've on the left wing today. We've got Lani Tia. That's his first appearance in first grade. He did play with us 2 years ago, but he had a year off last year. He comes into the side because one of the most exciting young footballers in Queanbeyan, Patel Lafoe, had his eye socket broken a couple of weeks ago. Oof. But when he comes back, people will step up and take notice of him. But Lani's an experienced footballer, and I'm sure he'll do his job out there today. Speaking
of experienced footballers, there's Morgan. He takes it a couple of metres past the halfway line.
And he's probably having his best year for a long time.
Yeah, he was excellent last week. As soon as he got the ball, something happened. Quick hands to Nadruku. There was no one at home, though, as he tried to send it over his left shoulder, but it goes over the touchline in front of that healthy crowd on the other side of the park. Yeah, so another mistake. We'll see if it proves costly. Vikings just inside Queanbeyan's territory once again. That eye socket injury is, what's the prognosis? How many weeks does that take to?
Probably 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, that's not a nice injury. Suavai hands it back to Uki. He does really well to hold on to it with the show and go. Doesn't get tackled, and Langtree is up off his wing. Sends it back to Tuki now. He has one to beat in Douch. Douch does excellently to get low and take him down. Back to the centre of the park.
Proving the difference, isn't he?
Absolutely. Lolosio hands the try scorer once more. He's doing the hard yards this afternoon, Sione Taula. Back for Griffiths. Another forward who's been willing to take the majority of the work early on in this fixture. And it's pick and go now. The Vikings just short of the line. Slipped back. Griffiths finds himself with the ball once more. The Vikings are up, but the knock-on is the call you can hear there from the referee. So
playing advantage over on this side. Yes, they're dominating. There's no doubt about that. And Tuaki, it starts every time he touches the ball. They'll be an awfully strong side when they get a few blokes back, won't they?
Oh, will they what? Andrew Robinson, one of those players. I don't know how they're going to fit him in with this backline firing.
I don't know where Isaac Thompson is. Is he out injured?
Yeah, he's done a groin injury last week against the Owls. So he's back in a couple of weeks.
Then you got those Swain and Oakman Hunt.
That's right. A damaging side, and Royals have admitted that this year might be a bit closer than last year for them.
I think so. It's a lot tougher.
And here's that Maul option that we were talking about before. They haven't had the opportunity yet because the lineouts have gone missing, but Queanbeyan with all the work to do now. Let's see whether the Vikings can make it over this line. And knock on is the call. White scrum it will be, so they get out of jail there, Phil.
I'm enjoying the referee. No, he's good. He's
good
clear
job.
in his calls, isn't he? It's good to hear him talking and informing everyone what the decision is.
I was just talking to the referee staff beforehand. Unfortunately for Matt Hogan, he's a bit old. His ambitions were to go to the next World Cup, but he's been ruled out of contention to even go to the next level because he's too old. 30 years of age is the limit.
You're not serious.
For real. That's what they say.
Mr. Turnbull said you don't have to retire till you're 70.
Well, he doesn't have to retire, but he has to stay in the lower grades.
Yeah, well, I suppose Louise Burrows probably feels a bit the same. They've told her she's too old to play Wallaroos, you know?
Yeah, wow, really? Is that...
I think if you're good enough, you play.
She would be willing to go around until she's 70 as well.
Yeah.
I just realised as I'm telling that story, we've got the referee staff nearby. I hope I told that accurately.
Well, he slipped you $50, so that's pretty good.
Shout out to Matt Hogan, doing an excellent job this afternoon as Queanbeyan. This scrum has collapsed, so we will reset it. Queanbeyan, what's their option here? Do they go to the boot again?
Well, I don't think they've got any choice, have they? But they have to find the white line. They can't let it stay in the field.
Broken play has been damaging. Both tries have come off the back of the loose ball.
Well, Maynard and Tuaki would punish from here, wouldn't they? I think. So
certainly.
You got to put down. I don't know what the option is. The option is probably Goddard. That looks like Carl Elliott's over the back with his hand in.
Yes, he does. He's so there.
So it'd be Jake Gordon, I'd imagine, is the hooker.
There you go. And so Keith Morgan takes it up off the line. What a strong run from him. They didn't go straight to the boot, but they'll go to the box kick. Josh White with a high kick. It's going to find Meinhardt, though. Yeah, shake of the head from Phil Hawke, and justifiably so. They go through the hands quickly now, out the back, and find Ernest Suavai way over there on the other side of the park. Hard work for our cameraman going through the shade in the sun. The ball may have been turned over here. I can see a white hand on it, and they are clearing out now. So they've done a bit better at the breakdown. OJ Noah finds himself with the ball once again.
So Elliott's obviously got a hand injury, and Jake Gordon, who's the captain of the second grade, has come on to replace him.
Yeah, so he'll be playing hooker now, and this ball, interesting option. This was close to their own line, and Meinhardt was quick up and saw that early and puts the shoulder into Marmont to the cheers of the Viking crowd down to our right. Ball came loose.
Queanbeyan's called for the scrum.
Yeah, penalty.
I think it was Meinhardt knocked it on, so he had an option of the scrum or the line out.
There you go.
I think.
Okay. Well, Ryan Jones starting this week. It was an interesting turn last week. He had to go on to the bench because it was a late inclusion for Les Macon.
Yes, well, what happened was Ryan had a bit of a back injury from a work-related incident. We've been fortunate that we've got plenty of back rowers. For example, Sockeye Tai, who is a legend in Canberra rugby, has been playing reserve grade. So, and last week he scored 3 tries last week. He had to go to a family affair today, so he wasn't available for selection in first grade. But he can't be far away from first grade again.
Oh, absolutely. He was damaging.
Very damaging player.
It was interesting, though. It was Ryan Jones who was sniping around the ruck. It's usually Soccer Tie. We've seen a knock-on again against Vikings.
So, we are fortunate. We've got Pencer, Sikameti, Jones and OJ Noah and Sockeye. So we've got a very strong contingent that can play first grade.
What's happened so far today? Because they haven't been as strong at the breakdown as they were last week.
No, they don't. They're not getting there, are they?
No, a little bit slow, and Vikings probably putting the pressure on them a little bit quicker than West were last week. So I expect them to turn it around before half-time, and we'll see Whites get back into this contest. But it is 14 points to 0 here at David Campese Oval in the Hahn Super Dry match of the round. My name's Kieran Deck, and I'm joined in commentary by Phil Hawke. And Goddard will make the most of this penalty, kicking it around his body. Yeah, good meters gain just on the halfway line. Right in front of us will be the line-out. Yeah, so the last time these two teams met was last year. As the line-out goes to Whites. Offside called by the referee against Vikings, so we will still be playing advantage as Goddard takes it down just past halfway. White quickly through Njuku and Douch. There's White once more. Macon. Oh, huge drive from Les Macon. Okay, so White's with better field position now. They need to be patient this late in the half. Chip over the top. It has collected Vavoda's hands, but a penalty will be called. Playing advantage was the referee. Coming back to an earlier offside right on the halfway line, so they'll gain a few extra metres, and you think this would be an opportunity that they'll need to take it this time?
He might have a shot here. No, he's not. He's going to go for the line. It's not beyond Goddard's distance, but they've decided to play the line, so I suppose it's early days. In the second half, Queanbeyan are running down the hill. Get a try here or a score here. It could just urge him into a bit more action.
So Ryan Jones gets nice and high, and White quickly out for Goddard, and he has his first option, which is Macon. White once more for Jones, the skipper, and he passes quite flat. And running around his own player was the call.
Tough call, but no, fair enough.
So Morgan getting in the way there. Yeah, unfortunately, and that takes the sting out of the attack for the Whites. I was just about to say the last game. They played twice last year only, which is unusual because usually they find themselves against each other in the final. But it was round 4 of 2017. The Tuggeranong defeated Queanbeyan 59-15 at Viking Park. Then they came out to David Campese Oval in round 12 mid-year for a Tuggeranong victory. Slightly closer this time, and it was a turning point when the hooker Carl Elliott, who's now off injured, was given a yellow card with 12 minutes remaining, and they came from behind Vikings to beat Queanbeyan.
Yeah, well, one thing you can guarantee with Carl, he likes a playing deck, so he's not been short of yellow cards in his day.
Yes. Yeah, well, that one was for a little bit of hot-headedness, allegedly. Ryan Jones takes it up to the line. And Darcy Swain was the man of the match in that game for the Vikings. He's not here today playing for the Brumbies, the 19-year-old.
We've got an advantage play here because the Tuggeranong bloke attacked the head of Goddard. But he might... And we've got a bit of a blue back in the back there.
Yeah, a couple of words to say to each other. It's Pencer on the ground with Smith. But it has come back to Tauki. He knocked it on there and given Whites probably their best field position in the game so far, running uphill.
I'm glad he could make a mistake.
Yeah, that's right. It was a little bit laxy-daisy from him. He's been so switched on in this match. He seemed a little bit cruisy with it. Maybe thinking about the advantage more than what he had to do, and the knock-ons gave them an extra 30 metres to play with.
It's an interesting thing. We haven't been on air with Queanbeyan before this year, but Dan Pencer was captain of Queanbeyan for 8 years and stood down this year because he just wanted to concentrate on his footy, and that's how Ryan Jones became the captain of the side. I would think it's probably Pencer's swan song this year because he's 30.
That's enough. He's 30. He needs to go and get a real job.
Yeah, he needs to go.
Yeah, look, Pencer, what a leader. Even though he's not skipper this year, you can hear him in the warm-up chirping and giving lots of instruction to his forwards.
Yeah, he's been a great player for our club.
Carries himself very well, as does Jones.
Yes.
A worthy replacement. Good scrum again from both sides, out to Goddard and Morgan, but Morgan's caught around the hip. Here we go, Goddard show and go. He beats one with it. It does really well. Taken down, though, by Bowden. And a crunching tackle around the waist once more. This is the first real test of Vikings defence. What can they do? Macon, he linked up with his fellow front rower, Nadruku. Nadruku comes in from the back, and then it's Guns. Back towards the centre of the park now for the Queanbeyan Whites. A good tackle from Taola around the shoulders, but he doesn't get up in time and nearly pinged for offside. There he is around the waist of Marmon, heading back for Jones. Jones now metres from the line, inches even. We're going to come back though for
someone might be going to the...
Yeah, he's blown time off as Hogan. Yeah, Taola.
Often you look at a bloke like Goddard and you think, he's a fancy 5'8". I tell you what, he's one tough kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
He doesn't mind getting hit, and he doesn't mind hitting them either. So
don't let the orange boots fool you.
Yeah, for a young bloke, I mean, he's a tough player.
Yeah, he threw himself at that West defence last week all game, and he showed it just now. Phil.
Every now and then he does a very effective tackle to stop them in their tracks. He's a very, very outstanding talent, I believe. We had a bloke last year called Liam Mosley who came from Queensland to try and break into the Brumbies, and we were very happy with him, but they weren't looking at him, so he went back to Queensland, and fortunately this young bloke stepped up. So we are lucky because finding quality 5'8" these days is very difficult. Not many clubs have got a lot of good quality 5'8".
Yeah, and he'll be relishing his opportunity, won't he, Goddard?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
As we take a quick breath. So Vikings now with only 14 men on the park. Taylor going off with a yellow card. I didn't quite see the call, but I think it may have been for an offside, professional foul. Again, the scrum looks very strong from both sides, locked into some heavy turf here with this new irrigation system. It's looking great and playing great, Phil, as we come out for that man we talked about before, Goddard, and a juggle. It's come back to him, though, right in the breadbasket. Whites retain possession, thankfully. Oh, and a penalty.
Somebody's won the ball.
Unfortunately for the Whites, that was a key opportunity as we tick down towards halftime.
Yeah, Billy Chalker must have got tackled and they got over him and didn't release. So we go back to the halfway, or roughly so.
Yeah, he threw himself at the line, didn't he, Chalker?
Yep.
Nah, when you put your body on the line like that, sometimes.
So it's been interesting, really. Tuggeranong have broken out twice and scored twice, and then from then on it's been a bit of a knuckle between the two 22s, hasn't it? Hasn't much else has happened.
Yeah, that's right. And I think even from the set piece, we haven't seen a lot of clean play. That doesn't look like either side is going to break through. So it's in the broken play that Tuggeranong's been the most dangerous.
Something a bit different here, but Marmont's smart enough to cover that.
White once more. He sends it back quickly to the skipper, Jones. And he finds Lani Tiatia, who hasn't had much of the ball so far this afternoon. Back to OJ Noah. On the halfway line is where he skips and he finds himself on the ground 5 metres past it. Back now for Goddard. Good searching ball for Marmont in space. He's got Meinhardt to beat. Meinhardt is up to the challenge, though, and they cover quickly. It's backs on backs at the breakdown. Jones sees a gap and goes for it. Flicks it up for Douch. Douch is there, spins. He takes one on the shoulder from Sulvai, but goes to the ground without losing much air from his lungs. Now back to Goddard. And he skips two. And it's on the wing now for Les Makin. He flicks it back to the inside. Who has he got? He tried to find someone. It's got into the Vikings' hand, and the red and white stripes have it right there.
And it's gone out on the far side.
Against the Whites.
Against the Whites, yeah.
Unfortunately, again, another stinging attack. Falling short. So this home crowd a little bit quiet now, Phil.
Yeah, we usually have Old Boys Day when we play Tuggeranong, but we played Tuggeranong this year 3 times in the rounds. You know, every second year we play teams 3 times.
Yep.
So the Old Boys Day is next time that Queanbeyan play Tuggeranong here at Campese, so there'll be a lot more noise and sledging at that game. But it is very quiet, isn't it?
Sledging's all right, but ball tampering's no good, okay? Just as long as we stop it there.
Why?
But the conditions, I mean, here we are sitting in the sun worrying about getting sunburn. You know, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, we don't actually have a clock with us, Phil, but how close do you reckon it is to half-time now?
I'd say less than 5.
Yeah, we've got to be ticking down.
We're having trouble with the scoreboard. It doesn't want to work. It didn't want to work against Gungahlin. Doesn't want to work today either. So we're going to have a real good look at that before the next home game.
Taking an extended holiday. Lalasia wants to break for his men too. And kicks it out. Taking their time. Oh, we're going to come back though for the penalty. Lalasia, just 18 years of age and a promising young man. What have you made of the 2 number 10s so far today, Phil?
They're both very good. Yeah, no, it's good, isn't it, that we've got these young blokes coming through, and I haven't seen much of the Tuggeranong 5'8", and they've had a few different 5'8s over the last couple of years. You know, last year they had was it Fred Tiat or Fred somebody or other?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to him, but
I missed last season. It was Isaac Thompson who went away and played for a Japanese side for the season.
Yeah.
He said he's excited to be back because he was struggling to find form over there in Japan. As Queanbeyan get a penalty back, it's a ping-pong of penalties.
Well, the thing with Isaac, of course, he's engaged to a Queanbeyan girl and should really be playing for Queanbeyan, shouldn't he?
Surely.
Surely. And her name is Thompson as well, so I think that made things simpler for him.
There you go. Before marriage.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're going to have the shot here, which probably signals that we are on half-time, I'd say.
14 points to 0, and this is an important kick for Goddard. He kicked fairly well last week. And all season, really.
Yep, hasn't really had a bad day.
Yeah, he's only second in the point scorers to Pedro Rolando of Royals. 24 points to his name, 9 conversions and 2 penalties.
He needs to score a few tries. I think Pedro's always good for a try.
Yeah, he is. Although his boot is one of the best in the competition. Rolando has 25 points, just one more than Goddard. This will take him clear of Orlando if he's not having a good day out at East, but I'd say that he's probably kicking true.
You missed
Again, that one has gone to the left of the uprights, and moments away from half-time we feel here with Vikings with 2 early tries. The first one to Meinhardt, JP Meinhardt wearing the number 11, and Sione Tuula scoring the second one, crashing over underneath the posts. He is now off with a yellow card. He'd be about halfway through his penalty. And 22 restart now. Good kick there from Lolosio. Plenty of ground, and Pencer winds up and strikes that Viking line right on halfway. That tree line coming across the park now. Offside is the call. We're playing advantage again against the Vikings. They have been a little bit quick to the mark today, and that wouldn't be their first penalty. So the referee had played advantage. So Teuki.
They're going to take the line out. I like Hagen anyway, because what he does, he doesn't play those extended advantages. If you kick, well, virtually you kick your advantage away, which I think is a good idea. These people who get the advantage and then do some silly kick just to... I think if you kick the ball, the advantage is over. It
takes the excitement out of the game, doesn't it? Because the ball just hits the turf and no one's really into it.
Yeah, and so like speeds it up. It doesn't mean we've got to go way back over there. Something that happened 20 minutes ago, you know. Like
Goddard had to stretch for that one, caught it well in the end, and it went back for Billy Chalker. He's held up in the tackle. Remember, he was penalised for not releasing the ball, caught out on his own in a similar position on the field earlier, not rolling away against Lolosio this time. Gosh, a try would be good now for the Whites. They've had so much possession in this part of the park towards the back end of this half.
Another shot from Goddard.
But a shot is a good option.
Yeah, I mean, Hagen's already sent one bloke to the bin. I think it's repeated infringements. And some teams, I'm not saying that Tuggeranong are doing it, but some teams obviously get 15 metres out and they'll just don't mind giving away the penalty rather than giving the opposition a chance to score a try. They're cynical penalties.
Yeah, and as you said, Hogan, one of the more experienced referees in the competition, is switched on to that sort of play.
I'd say if they do it again, or next couple of times, somebody else will be in the bin.
Yeah, I didn't know so.
I mean, all sides probably do it. I mean, there's not...
I feel like as well, Phil, this one is successful, so he finds his... Goddard finds another penalty and another 3 points to his name, so clears Pedro Rolando before we know how many tries he scored over at East this afternoon.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game, isn't it? East and Royals. I mean,
it certainly is.
You know, East have certainly come a long, long way, and everyone's so pleased about that.
They'll be stoked. They're third on the ladder after 3 rounds.
Yeah, and it's not as if their Coles side's fielding strong, and you know, like this is good for the Canberra rugby, and you know, the next ambition would be to try and get an 8th team. You know, like that'd be that would be something to look forward to.
It'll be huge. Their win in round 1.
It must have been fantastic.
Oh, what a win it was! It's their first in 3 seasons or something huge like that.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah. As Bowden comes to the short side, and no one at home as Griffiths fumbles it backwards. He releases the ball, and there's been a turnover. Goddard's over the top of it. And great work from Goddard there. That was very strong from him, although he didn't have anyone trying to knock him off. Got right over the top of it and kept his feet. He can do everything.
We don't get many boys from Grammar coming to Queanbeyan, by the way, but he's one.
He will have enjoyed that rap too. So still in the first half of this match, Hunt Superdry match of the round. 3 wins in a row for Queanbeyan to start the season, and Vikings had a draw last week. They had a win against Gingalan in round 2 and lost to Royals in round 1. So a bit of a mixed bag, as mixed as it gets for Vikings to kick off their 2018 campaign. Last year was a bit of a shock to see them not make the final for the first year in many. And Queanbeyan fell 1 short to West, and they would have enjoyed that victory over them last week. Welcome back to David Campese Oval for the Hunt Superdry match of the round in the Griffin Legal John Dent Cup. I'm Kieran Deck, and with me is Phil Hawke. Getting ready for the second half as the ball boys attempt to torpedo back into the centre of the field for Queanbeyan to restart here, with Will Goddard adding 3 points right at the end of the first half. Vikings scoring twice early on in the match through Meinhardt and Taylor.
I can't see any changes. Certainly Queanbeyan have got no changes. I don't think Tuggeranong have got any at this stage.
Both sides looking really fit, I thought, in the first half, Phil.
Yep. They, as you know, both sides have got new coaches, and obviously the coach at Queanbeyan, a young bloke called Paul Dillon, has certainly stepped up the training, completely different sort of training, and the players have responded. And look, they are a lot fitter this year than they are last year. I'll give you an example. Some of the players are running over training and in games 25 to 30 kilometres.
Oh, wow.
They've now...
Lock on there from OJ Noah as it's flicked back. The one thing that fitness doesn't help you with is ball handling skills. As it sends it out now for... It was Meinhardt, and he's just short of the halfway line. Heading up the hill now, the Vikings, just past the halfway again. Come out with Taylor back on the park. He has served his 10 minutes. He has the ball now on the 10-metre line, and he tries to get himself down to the ground. There won't be any holding him up right now. Holt now with the ball.
I suppose that's one thing we overlooked, was that Tuggeranong had 14 men and Queanbeyan couldn't score a try. So that's a pretty good effort by Tuggeranong to hold out anyone when you've only got the 14.
Yeah, hence the cheers when they affected a couple of penalties as Sulfide gets wrapped around the legs by Morgan. Just as good in defence as he is in his attack, isn't he, Phil?
Yep.
As still in attack through the hands of Wagner, who has had his name in the team of the round for round 3, the only Viking to be named last week. Sent back once more, up for Sulvai, wrapped around the corner. Knock on against Vikings though. Sulvai's little trick doesn't come off. The crowd knew what he was doing, and so did Whites. And Goddard now tries to gain an extra couple of metres, but he can't find the touch line. And so Tauki will send it back to Langtree.
He's very quick, Langtree. Not like his old man.
He is. Look at him go. And takes off. He found a gap through the middle. I wonder what he was doing, because there weren't many players out here towards us on this side of the park, but he certainly knew. Oh, and unfortunately for Vikings
he certainly
fans,
runs better than his old man Pat, that's for sure. I'd say Queanbeyan are in trouble here with hooker, because Jake Gordon, who played the full second grade game, is sort of cramping up, I think. So they'll be looking for another replacement hooker, which I'm trying to think who might come on.
For the Whites?
For the Whites, yeah.
Because they've already lost Carl Elliott earlier to a hand injury.
I don't think he's going to stay on too much longer.
Tauki now taken down. Yeah, I can see him limping too. So hopefully they've got an option there. Might be a shuffle around. Pencer was named at hooker once.
I suppose that is an option. Pencer to hooker.
High tackle.
And as I said, we've got plenty of back rowers, so maybe that is the option.
Yeah, so high tackle, the call. You mentioned earlier that they're looking after the players quite well this season, the referees, so that one, not much in it, but the referee was keen to call them back. And Vikings are opting to try and retrieve their 14-point deficit.
They're kicking to the red crowd at the far end there. The reserves. 47 reserves that are up there.
None of them are. I can only see one or two players suited up.
Yeah, number 18 there.
And the rest of them are
awaiting their call.
I love how you always finish my sentences, Phil.
Sorry.
That's all right. I left
you sound like my wife.
We'll work it out.
You sound like my wife here,
no, we're working together is my point. Your caring, loving wife, who you share much banter with, right?
I didn't say that.
Good. That's what I was hoping you weren't insinuating it. Tauki now will line it up. Not a bad kicker, Tauki. Although he will be ruining the missed opportunity last week. That could have been 2-1, but they instead it went to a draw against the Owls that ANU North will clean from him, and they get back to that 14-point advantage. He hasn't missed one yet today, Tauki. 2 conversions from pretty much in front, and that one a little bit more tricky, but never looked in doubt.
So Jake Gordon has been replaced by his younger brother, Ben Gordon.
There you go.
So Ben Gordon's wearing number 18.
Family affair. Do you think he'll go to hooker?
He's a very talented young fella as well. Again, he's a Colt.
Tiatia with a good offload, hands it back to Holland, who was another player named in the team of the round last week for his efforts. Niora Nadruku with a great run. He hasn't had much of impact with ball in hand.
He's been a bit quiet today.
Yeah, that's right. Usually he enjoys running the ball, and that one from Chalker, he's not having a great game this afternoon.
That was a pass, wasn't it?
OJ Noah now trying to clean things up. That one's gone forward though, and the referee will pull them back for another scrum.
So I don't think anyone would doubt that this Ben Gordon is, even his brother Jake would suggest that this bloke's got a great future in rugby, and has been out injured. Came back last week, and he'll probably end up being in the first grade, or finding a spot in first grade eventually.
How old's Ben?
He's only 19 years old.
Okay, so he lines up next to a Queanbeyan, one of the most experienced guys, Nadruku there.
He won't worry.
No, he'll enjoy it. So Bowden to restart play here. In my count, that's only the second scrum that hasn't worked for these two sides. Been well matched today. Some 5-pointers need to come from this Whites lineup. 17 points to 3 is the score. Although the scoreboard hasn't been updated on the other side.
Fine. Good.
I reckon Whites fans will be looking to Morgan or one of their star back rowers for those 5 points. Tauki now. He's been shut down well in this second half. They haven't found much broken play. Good hands sent back there now for Griffiths, who we've talked about quite a lot this afternoon. Tauki has a couple of options. He goes to Lolosio. Ryan Bowden. He's the marketing and media manager now for the Vikings, as playing in this first grade side, and the ball has been handed over to the Whites. So now they look for a way over. Few of the crowd members reckoning that the Vikings may have been over. It's a foot race. Jamie Marmot, one of the quickest players on the ground, toes it forward. But Meinhardt, the try scorer from the first half, is there.
Hello, given away. So somebody's
Straight over,
right?
Yeah, and so often in those pressure moments, someone goes down.
Someone gets a bit excited.
So a close game here at David Campese Oval. We're hoping for a close game as well tonight for the Brumbies up against the Crusaders. Excuse me. Yeah, the Brumbies out at GIO Stadium against last year's champions, and a few changes to that side too. You mentioned before Queanbeyan White player Andrew Smith will get a start in the number 12. How do you think he'll do?
Well, the day he played for us, he was absolutely outstanding. He did play fullback, by the way, and his open running was just superb. And I'm glad he's getting a chance because he's a genuine ball player as well. And I think one of the issues there is that the centres for the Brumbies may not be the greatest ball players, and I think Smith gives them an option there.
Yeah.
And, hopefully he goes well, and I hope the Brumbies go well. I mean, they need to chalk up a win, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
And otherwise, it's probably good night.
Yeah, it might be the last opportunity. Last week out there, we noted that the Hagueras posed a great opportunity to get some points on the board, and in our conference it would have really mattered. It's do or die this week, though.
The only thing that's helping, of course, all the other franchises, the Australian franchises, are losing games left, right and centre, so it's kept everyone in the mix, I suppose.
Yeah. Still a long way back up to the top for a sausage roll, though. I hope that the Brumbies can squeeze their way back in. Back to David Campese Oval, though. We've had an extended break with the doctor coming out for Vikings. Maybe Lolosio just a cut on his lip. He's going to stay out there. He's got a new piece of face work as well. A couple of quick drinks and a regather for the Queanbeyan Whites. Hotly contested line out, but it comes back to Vikings. Holt again with the ball. Quick off their line this time, Whites. That looked more professional.
Another penalty.
Did you see what it was? I think it might have been offside. They were very quick up to the defensive line, and the ball comes loose out of the hands.
I think someone...
Taoki.
Yes, I think he's had enough.
Yeah, and you mentioned this before, that repeat infringements won't be allowed by the referees. We saw Sione Taylor for the Vikings go off. And Cameron Holt, the skipper, just going in there just to hear the words as well. It was a warning in the end, though, for Ryan Jones. So no hand in the pocket this time. Theo will get a chance to put it into that tree there. I think doesn't come down. I
think he'll be going for the handkerchief next time, no?
That's true. 17 points to 3, heading towards the midway point of this second half. Both these sides, always really good contest. The tension hasn't simmered over, though, today. Really respectful play from both sides. Serious professionals and lots of young guys too. That always helps, I find. I think if the young guys are out there, they want to impress. They know that the Brumby selectors are watching. They know that there's opportunities galore around the country with the NRC later this year as well.
Nick Scrivener been given the job, which is sort of fairly obvious, isn't it? Given that the Tuggeranong have got the franchise.
Yeah.
But he's brought in Marco Caputo, which I don't think many people would disagree with that. He's an experienced man and a very important forward coach. So
yeah, both those guys spending time in Scotland recently. Interesting to see what they bring back from there. Handed back Rhys Griffiths. Vikings continuing down the short side. Bowden now held up.
Release down wide!
Certainly Rhys Griffiths has made his mark on the game, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's been in everything.
He has. That's Holt that time, had to get down on his knees and submit. But now Lolosio and Suavine is a strong runner at outside centre, has to tightly grip the ball and shove it back. He hatched an egg there, back to Henry, and inside ball didn't make them any ground. Vikings find themselves around 30 metres from the Whites line. No way through. And both sides yet to make major changes. Fresh legs out there. You mentioned Paul Dillon running this Queanbeyan White side hard, and that's showing today with their fitness nice and strong. And so what was quite a soft passage of play in terms of the Vikings attack. I thought they've been much more dangerous than that. Maybe a few sore legs out there right now. Lolosio getting some attention, and
I think that's Billy Chalker, is it?
Yeah, he's getting some work as well on his hand by the looks. It might be a finger. I think I can see a crooked finger there, Phil, but I would not like to speculate. Yeah, he's going to come off the field.
I'd say that's... Oh, yes, look at his...
Yes, I don't want to look closely at that one. He's taken the pain quite well, though. Chalker doesn't seem phased at all.
Have a look at his left finger.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, so a centre for the Whites and a fly half change for the Vikings.
Well, I've got no idea what they're going to do with the centres. Let me have a look down here. Somebody's... Oh, it'll be Zach Tarrant.
Oh, he just showed it to the crowd, Phil. he's proud of it, like a Christmas present.
That sounds like Billy Chalker.
That pain threshold must be unbelievable.
But I'll bring on Zach Tarrant, who is pretty handy.
Yeah, he's been a starting player of consistency in the past.
Yeah, he is, and they're very similar players in a way. Probably Zach's got a bit more pace, so maybe that'll help. I don't know, but and did you say they replaced the 5'8"?
Yeah, that's right. So Noah Lolosio, I think he actually came off for a rest. He had a cut on his face that was treated. He was holding that when the doctor came out, but it looked like in the end it wasn't the cut that took him off. He seemed fine. It was just time for a break. He's done well so far this afternoon for the Vikings.
So they've moved... Surely they've moved Tuaki to 5'8".
Yeah, it looks like they have, and they've got a new fullback here.
Yeah. Probably the reserve grade.
Yeah, it'll be Max Revuvo at fullback there.
Yes, that's who it is.
Yeah, quite an impressive player.
Very good player. Yep.
Unlucky, I'd say, not to be starting in this first grade side as well this year. He came down and a penalty at the scrum to the cheers of this Viking crowd.
Well, they've just destroyed Queanbeyan, so no wonder they're cheering.
Yeah, that was a good scrum. It's the first time that Queanbeyan scrum has broken this afternoon. As you mentioned, Ben Gordon in the front row now. Missing Carl Elliott perhaps out there, who went off early in the first half.
Yes, he's a very experienced player, and as you said, he's a bit close to the edge, I suppose. Aggressive.
He plays with enthusiasm.
Yes, he plays with enthusiasm.
And Tayuki, another chance to add to his record. He'll be contesting for top point scorer soon as well. Vikings, if you're listening, it would be great if you could get your scores up there on the Brumbies page. We don't have their individual player scores on the Brumbies stats page, so I'd say that Tauku would probably be up there with Pedro Rolando and Will Goddard in top point scorers. He's going for another 3 points here, and he adds them. So it's 20 points to 3 here in Queanbeyan. The home side really been on the back foot since the start of the game. A broken play try from Tauki kicked things off. Then Taula crashed over right in front of the post, right underneath the post, and the only point scored by the Queanbeyan side to Goddard, a penalty just before half-time. Surely
one of the full-time employees at the Tuggeranong could get onto the website. Like Ryan Dowden, for example.
It's a polite request so that we can have the full stats up there. We see most of the other sides. In fact, I think East are the only other side who haven't updated their scores for the first 3 rounds. It's my guess that they are the ones who have to do the stats. Is that right, Phil?
Yep.
Each individual team puts them up there. Yep. It's a great resource for us commentators as a selfish point of view.
We're now in trouble here with Terrence just come on.
Oh, no.
I think Terrence just about to go off.
Yeah, he's down. Angus Wagner, that's a tongue twister. Angus Wagner there as well down for Vikings, the front rower. But they've got a couple of options, as you have mentioned a couple of times, on the bench. But Tarrant down means...
he's only been on for a minute.
We're scratching for players now, Phil.
I'm just going to have a look here and see who's stripping down. It looks like they're going to bring on... I'd say the next replacement will be Kyle Hands.
Yeah, Tarrant just glanced back at the bench. Just say the message to him was, you need to go back on for a moment, mate. He looked like he wanted to come off.
I'd say what will happen is Tarrant will go off, Kyle Hands will go into the wing, and Lani Tia would move to the centre. They're also warming up prop Fred Kahia. Fred actually had such a good game against Gungahlin that the Wallabies under 20 selectors were here looking at Tom Ross from Gungahlin, and they said to Fred, you better come up to the camp because we were very impressed with your performance. And he's just come back from the Gold Coast with the Wallaby under 20. So he wasn't he was just invited to the training, which is a pretty good effort for Fred.
Wow, what a wonderful story that is. Fred, as he runs across the park to line up on the other side and get ready to change. This line out will go ahead before he does, though. Michael Henry, a stalwart at this Vikings club.
I was just thinking that, there wouldn't be many players for Tuggeranong who've played 100 games, but he must be he must be close, I
think he got it a couple of years ago, actually.
Did he?
So 2016 rings a bell. Yeah, so I don't have the stats in front of me. Ravalvo.
Here comes Langtry again. He's going to go the kick this time.
He's certainly got a similar gait to his father, though, doesn't he? He puts his head down and goes, but this time he's got speed. Right in front of the Vikings camp is why you hear so much noise there, and the pat around the head for Suavai for keeping his posture at the breakdown. Just going to have a look around the grounds in a moment. $20-3 here midway through the second half, although I'd say we'd be counting down towards 10 minutes to go. We don't have a clock in front of us. There's Tauki for another penalty. His toughest kick of the day.
I'll make you number 3. There you go. The white dot is step forward 22.
Give Tauki a moment to line this one up. He's got such a clean swing of the leg, doesn't he? Right over the black dot again, not in doubt. He's going to be a contender for top point scorer this year if he keeps healthy. That's his third penalty for the second half. So they've added 9 points to the Whites nil. And still not many changes for either side. You mentioned a couple of youngsters coming on for the Whites, and they're on now. Stolen was Cameron Holt there, who sharked his teammate. And it ended in a knock-on, so a little communication error as the shade comes right across the ground here. David Campese Oval, and time has been blown off with a couple of changes for the Vikings. So that man we were just talking about before, Michael Henry, leaves the field. He's another player alongside Cookie Burrows who probably play until he's 70.
So Fred's on in replace of Niori Nadruku, and Kyle Hands is on this side on the left wing, and Lani Tia has moved to centre with Keith Morgan.
Okay, another chance here. They've still got time, the Whites, to get back into this game, and Morgan has no fear. He bumps one off. There's 3 to cover, though. They're just short of their line. This is the first time, folks, that they've been in this position in this half. And we come back through Hands now. And a knock on, and that's a collective groan led by Phil Hawke here. It was Tom Holland who had the ball, and he coughed it up, and it's going to be cleared by such a composed player, Tauki. Enjoyed watching him this afternoon.
Yes, he is. He's got the goods, hasn't he? I mean, quite a number of players last year went to league, rugby union players. We lost Brendan Spears, a few others, because they have a points cap in rugby league, and rugby union players are worth 0 points. They don't have any points allocated to them until they play rugby league. And the Blues, of course, had Campese.
As Marmont takes a break and is looking for OJ Noah, or anyone really, the ball was turned over once more. That looked good, but he didn't look for his player. Marmont sending it to ground. Up on the halfway line is Douch now. A little skip/trip into Langtree. Douch, I think, is enjoying his time at fullback, but I had a refrain last week, which I'll continue this week. I think that Douch is a very strong player at scrum half, and I'd like to see him back there at some point.
I agree with you.
He's back now for Tom Holland, who knocked on the ball last time. This time he holds on to it. Calls of offside from the Queanbeyan Whites crowd. Hands have lost it. Offside is the call. Maybe a repeat offence here, Phil.
No, he's given a knock on to the Whites, but that bloke was so far in front it wouldn't have mattered. There's a few more changes coming from Tuggeranong.
Yeah, so Liam McGrath will line up, another front rower.
So what's happened here at the Queanbeyan is they feel that Josh White should be in the team, so they're playing him at halfback and moving Dowse to fullback. I'm like you, Kieran. I think he should be at halfback because he gives them the dart.
He's such a good
damaging breaking runner.
Yeah, he sees things that others don't too.
Yes, exactly. And but that's not our call, but that's the coach's call at the moment. And I suppose they're struggling to find an alternative fullback. That's the other thing, a first grade quality fullback.
Well, with his speed, I reckon Morgan is an option, although you wouldn't want him out of 13, would you?
You wouldn't, really.
Sent back now for... it's Try Henderson, who's had a bit of ball today for the Vikings. We just saw a change there. Liam McGrath's gone into the front row, replacing
Henry.
Angus Wagner.
Angus, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
And Wagner with an excellent game this afternoon. As I said before, he was Tuggeranong's only player of the round last week in the team of the round. Tauki shows and goes, grabs at the ball, does Jones. He nearly got a steal.
They might have a few more in this week's team, I think.
Yeah, it's been an excellent display so far this afternoon. Sione Tola will be in contention.
Very controlled. Really, when you think about, they haven't made many mistakes. If probably less than 5 mistakes in the whole game.
Yeah, and that was the comment from Coach Nick Scrivener last week was mistakes let the Owls back in. That was the observation in the post-match report as well. The Owls played very well, but there was a lapse in concentration half to half time, so they'll be very happy with what's happened so far this afternoon, although that's the commentator's curse as Liam McGrath puts it on the ground.
They still get the penalty because I think Holland played the ball on the ground, and we've got another replacement coming on, Lewis Bizzardo, who's a back rower. So I'm not sure who he's replacing.
Yep. White substitution.
Another youngster, Lewis.
Yes.
White number 4. White 4 sub.
Yeah, so he's replacing Josh Townsend.
But Bizzardo himself's not a lock, so I'm not sure. Maybe Ryan Jones will go to lock.
Hold. Time's off.
Josh Townsend, pretty roughed up. He's obviously done some hard work without us mentioning much down at the breakdown.
Well, this is his first start in first grade this year. He replaced Toby Wilson, who's unavailable, so he's probably feeling the pinch here.
Yeah, Tuuki playing fly half, and he gives it out. Rivalvo now, he finds Langtree, and Langtree just jolts back and forth. That very measured play has made for unexciting passages, but Vikings will be very pleased with how disciplined they've been this afternoon as they find Teuki once more, who's doing just as well at fly half as he was at fullback. Another option for him. He takes it up himself this time, a high tackle. Yeah, and it will be called. Advantage is the call. Sent back through for Voda.
I suppose we go back to half time. It was 14-3 to Tuggeranong, and in the second half nobody's managed to get a try, so probably a fair indication of the game.
Yeah.
Except that Tuggeranong have just dominated with their ball, and of course getting just building on penalties.
Sulvai very good at that. He just gave it back to Teuki, but maybe a reflection of them not working together as well as they'd like just yet early on in the season. Sulvai, an extra playmaker at 13 sometimes. Bowden takes his time, a little bit of scuffle at the breakdown. They go short side for Valval.
Knock on.
And a knock on against Vikings is the call, so out of jail once more, but we would come back.
Another penalty.
Yeah. Relentless pressure for this home side. Meinhardt wanted to restart quickly. He was one of the try scorers in the first half. That's a really good point you make, Phil. No tries in this second half. Both sides defending very well.
And he's coming up for the kick again.
Yeah. Yeah, and another reflection of their position. They know where they are in this game, and they're very happy to just keep adding the little points.
Yep.
15.
They're starting to look like a bit of a flogging, but it's not really when you consider that that it's the penalties that are keeping them ticking away. And although I'd say they've dominated, you can't doubt they've dominated the game. They've dominated the territory.
Yeah.
They've made very few errors.
And I think credit goes to Queanbeyan too, because they have played well. They haven't made as many errors as they did around the 60-minute mark.
No.
We're heading into the final moments of this game. Just inside the post, and Teuki cleans up again into the construction zone back behind the post. But yeah, Vikings have played better. It's just, I think it's as simple as that. Queanbeyan haven't played bad. They just haven't matched this Vikings side this afternoon. Queanbeyan won against West last week. Oh, that one knocked on by Langtree, so Whites will get a late chance here. Advantage. The referee wants to see where this goes. White back for Gordon. Goddard again. He hasn't seen much of the ball recently. OJ Noah tries to squeeze his way through, but there was cover defence. Teuki dives on the ball. Sent back for Ernest Sulvai now. More possession. Meinhardt back for Sulvai. Can he hang on to it? He does as he wheels and deals back onto his back. Turtles it up and the ball goes out. So I think it will be the Whites' ball. I need my binoculars. Yes, it will.
But see, I think that's indicative of the difference is that OJ should have just placed the ball and waited for support. He's tried to throw the Mercury, the great pass, and it hasn't come off. And then it's actually Tuggeranong's ball on the sideline. And again, they're only 22 metres out, so under pressure again.
Vikings win the line out once more. Bowden searches for his Callum Smith. Cameron Holt is very similar looking, the skipper out there for Tuggeranong Vikings. Tauki was the first option, but Smith gets another run, and he pops it up for McGrath. Bowden digs in deep and sends it back. Tauki ends up with the ball. OJ Noah trying to make up for his mistake earlier by gaining a few metres in defence. Sulvai with a lot of work out there on the far side of the park. Once more for Angus Allen.
Again, what?
And Sione Taylor finds himself with the ball. The experienced campaigner not shy of the 80 minutes.
Yes. I think Mr. Gordon, might be going to visit his... yes, it might be Mr. Gordon going to visit his brother on the bench. He made no real effort to roll away at that time.
Yeah, and so at 14-man side now, Queanbeyan Whites.
With 1 minute to go.
As Isaac Thompson runs the tee out, 1 minute to go. You heard that from the referees. Isaac Thompson will run the tee out for Tauki to add another 3 points. And I'd say if he wasn't already before the start of this round, Tauki will probably be leading the point scoring competition in this Griffin Legal John I. Dent Cup. And what a competition we have this year, Phil. It's we mentioned it briefly earlier, but it's looking nice and close. Gungahlin probably the side that's had the worst start to the season, but East, great to see them up and amongst it. Looking forward to seeing the result of their clash with Royals today, who still, despite having narrow wins, are undefeated.
Yes, they've done Royals actually contributed significantly to the re-establishment to the rebuilding of East, as did I think a few Tuggeranong players went over to East as well. So, but I don't. Wayne Southwell is very, he's not critical of the players that have moved from Royals to East. He's actually said no, we just move on, and that's a good thing for the competition that they're there. And of course that means today there would have been some interesting clashes today between some of the old Royals players and their former club members.
Yeah, they would have enjoyed it out there. And as you said, Southwell, a diplomat, but also just a lover of the game, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. I mean, he's done his stint here at Queanbeyan, and he won a premiership here, and and again, when he went to Royals, we wished him all the best.
Yeah, his demeanour reminds me of my cricket coach, Ken Sweeney. Just one of those coaches that I think everyone's a friend of, as Les Macon takes it up to the 10-metre line. Both the coaches of these two sides today, well respected, as well as Goddard cops one around the shoulders. The referee was right on top of that, and the Queanbeyan Whites crowd think that it might have been a bit high, but Morgan plays dummy half.
He got it for offside this time.
So Vikings on notice once more. Need to find a way through. Broken play has been the only way these two sides have scored today. The defence has been outstanding, as Pencer with a short ball. That one just over the shoulder. Lewis Bizzardo copying it over his shoulder. We're still playing advantage here as Whites struggle to find metres.
Come back infield towards me.
It can't be long to go here at David Campese as Josh White with a quick restart. He beats 3. They're all offside, and Ravalval is the final line of defence. Catches him around the chest, takes him down eventually. A few metres away now. A consolation try will be excellent for this crowd here. They've played so well and they deserve it. Penalty for the Queanbeyan Whites. Matt Hogan ruling a high tackle there. Do you go for the 5 points now?
Yes, I think so. They've got nothing to lose, really, have they? They need to convince themselves that they can score a try. I can't see much point kicking a goal. A penalty would be much... if they can score a try off this, at least they come away with something. Tuggeranong will replace, bringing on number 21. Yeah, it looks like maybe he's not gone on yet.
Yeah, he's just sitting on the sideline and wait for this line out as Queanbeyan a couple of metres out.
I don't think he'll get on.
It's a rough call from the coach, isn't it? Can you just go on for 30 seconds?
Get off,
Queanbeyan right on top of the line. This maul seems to be working. Slipped out the back,
Fred
short side.
Fred Kahia.
Oh, and what a man. I reckon if I'd asked you who you'd want to give the try to, you would have said him, because he's had such a good start to the year, hasn't he?
Yes, that's Fred Kahia. As I mentioned, he's just come back on Thursday from the Gold Coast camp. Where they identified him as a player of prospect, so it's good. I might give a shout out to my son Daniel Hawke, who's also up on the Gold Coast as an emerging coach. He got invited up to enjoy the camp. So
I wonder where Dan was. He would have been an option at fly half today.
I don't think so. But he's a coach of the Colts here, of course.
Yes. Oh, how exciting. Well, good luck to Dan up there at the Gold Coast. Here with 5 points, and the extra 2 has been added by Goddard. What a kick from the orange boot, blonde haired youngster. Pretty happy about that. Well-deserved try. I think this Queanbeyan White side has been excellent in their fitness and defence today. The standouts for you, Phil?
I think Reece Griffiths, the 6 from Tuggeranong, certainly good. And of course, you can't go past Brendan Tuaki. His general play, but also his kicking's been superb. I think Queanbeyan probably OJ Noah. Fairly happy with the development of Will Goddard, but certainly there are a lot of players in Tuggeranong who can hold their head up. And, and Cameron Holt, probably Ernest Suvavai. They've had a good steady game right across the park. Yeah,
it's a team effort to beat Queanbeyan out here. It's a tough thing to do to come past the border and beat this White side. They're always so strong and they're so fierce. And a late try is on the table here for the Vikings. It was 1 minute to go about 10 minutes ago,
Exactly.
Phil. The referee's calling that one from their watches, so I'm not sure, maybe with that time off.
He was the one who indicated the 1 minute, by the way.
Reece Griffiths again with the ball, that man you mentioned at the start of your spiel. I think you're right, he's probably up there for man of the match. Of course, you'll find out on the Brumbies Facebook page who gets the man of the match. They get a reward from Vodafone, thanks to those sponsors. Hunt Superdry is the sponsor of the match of the rounds in 2018. A knock-on here.
Where you are.
We'll come back for an off-side call.
Another offside and probably another... Although, I think Tuggeranong might call a scrum here. If I was Tuggeranong, I'd call a scrum. Just to see how you go.
Just to mix it up?
Yeah. But I don't think they are.
No, I reckon... a coach of Nick Scrivener's experience, you probably don't want your forwards to be digging in again this late in the game.
Oh no, they're going to line out.
So every passage of play only adding about 20 seconds with stoppages in between. Let's hope the Brumbies can be this boring this evening. If they play this boring, they might be a chance of beating the Crusaders tonight at GIO Stadium.
Well, they got the same issue. You don't kick to the back 3, do you? You got to keep the ball.
Especially when you've got a couple of All Blacks amongst that back line.
Well, the Tuggeranong tactic didn't work because they lost the line out and the ball's gone into touch. No, it's not into touch. So they have got a chance here.
Yeah, Blake Henman is on in scrum half. He gives it back to Max Ravalval, and he's got Ernest Suvavai on the outside. Suvavai with excellent hands like a basketballer sends it back, takes it to the ground, wanted to pop it up, but there was no one home. No good option anyway. And Bowden with the man off the field. Henman now playing quickly. He was a little bit tired looking at the end of the second grade game, but come out with a spark here to finish off as Cameron Holt takes it up now. Back on the inside, damaging run. swinging to the ground just in front of the post. The ball did come loose. Louis McGrath wanted to pick it up. Yeah, that will be.
That's full time.
Full time here at David Campese Oval. What a display of rugby in the Griffin Legal John O'Dent Cup. Really impressed by. Oh, we have just a quick word. He did blow the full time whistle, so a yellow card. Oh, no, we're gonna continue. We must have mistaken that full time whistle. Maybe he was second guessing himself. So Tauki will send it to the touchline, and we'll have one more line out before the end of the day.
So Lewis Pizzardo, we're down to 13. I think we got Ben Gordon off, and now we got Lewis Pizzardo off. So we've got a league side on there at the moment.
Again, we've credited both sides' defence today. There'll be a full test of them right here. Do they go to the... Michael... wasn't Michael Henry, he's off? Yeah, not Michael Henry, so...
Wasn't the best throw, was it?
Not the greatest throw. Ravalval will have to recover this, and bounces twice. Langtree gets it. And we're on the 10-metre line eventually.
And they're going to hold him up, are they? No.
Ravalval playing fly half now. Flicked underneath, that was tricky, and... the man he replaced in Tauki got the ball to Sulvai eventually. Sulvai has been looking likely. They're well aware of his attacking prowess. Sulvai starting in this side today. He's struggled to find a place in this team. They were telling me over at the Viking camp before the start of the game. So much talent in this backline. Youngsters coming in, and Sulvai getting a start today and playing the full complement.
This must be the longest minute.
No.
Ben Gordon's just come back on to make 15 versus 14, and we continue to play on.
And he's
having a little scuffle over in the corner.
I think they're asking each other what's for dinner. They've enjoyed it so much they want to go out for drinks afterwards. Both the sides. Orange juice. We'll take this moment just to quickly thank the sponsors once more. Griffin Legal are the sponsors of this competition, the John O'Dent Cup this year, and Hans Superdry, the sponsors of the match of the round. There are a whole bunch of others. If you're down at the ground today, you can have a look at your Stampede. Queanbeyan Rugby have a whole range of sponsors that look after them. A big thank you to them as well.
This is Lani Tia on the break from Keith Morgan.
And held down on the halfway line. Still this game goes on. Flicked back to Ryan Jones, and he has knocked it on. It's the tail of the tape for this Queanbeyan White side. Flicked up Sulvai, no look pass. It wasn't a great decision. The advantage was over, so we'll come back to Queanbeyan White's ball. Ryan Jones just saying, is it over yet? Didn't you say 1 minute to go?
We heard him say 1 minute.
He said it twice now.
10 minutes ago.
He said it just a moment ago when there was a little scuffle on the other side of the field. I could hear him just briefly. So it is White's restart right in front of us here.
40 minutes away.
So Benny Gordon gets the last throw, we think.
OJ Noah. Why not? It's a brave call. And Douch with the ball once more. Jamie Marmont knocked it on earlier. He had his head down. Finally, Douch finds himself White, and the pass just floated round his bootlaces, unfortunately. Yeah, so the pressure getting to this White's back line.
You call that exactly right. He should have had Morgan on his left, and then he had another player further in, but he decided to cut Morgan. Now, why would you cut Morgan?
Yeah, he was free. There wasn't a player on him. He may have seen a little bit too much of the fullback, Ravalval. Maybe he thought he was covering him, but from our position, I thought he was free, Phil. Unfortunately, it's not to be, and the score remains 29 points to 10. As you said, it looks like a flogging, but it hasn't been here today.
So the bloke's offside. I think he's called it.
11 was offside.
Yeah, so that's the assistant referee coming in. Meinhardt was penalised, and a quick restart potentially here for the Whites. Yep, chip and go to no one. So Revalval to clean it up. Douch sensing the end of the game. The ball will be kicked out. Is this it? Is this it? Yeah, there it is. And the end of the game with the Tuggeranong Vikings travelling over the border to David Campese Oval and defeating the Old Foes 29 points to 10. So in the last 3 matches, Tuggeranong have won 3 between these sides, and they go a couple of points up the ladder. That was a good win for Tuggeranong out here today, Phil.
Yeah, certainly they were the better side. Very well controlled. As I said, very few mistakes. They knew what they were about. Obviously, Scrivener's had a major influence on him over the last couple of weeks as he's taken over from Tim Sampson, and it must be hard to come in and then build a side in your own shape and what you want out of the players, but they certainly have responded today.
Yeah, the former Wallabies assistant coach has plenty of experience to bring to this side, and no doubt they'll be relishing the opportunity to train underneath him. Plenty of credit given to him so far this season, and that win probably the best reflection yet.
Yeah, I think so. When you think they've won 1, lost 1, drawn 1, and then they've come in here and convincingly beaten Queanbeyan. Although they scored their tries in the first half and didn't score any in the second, but they still dominated the game. You wouldn't have thought I don't think Queanbeyan really challenged much, and when they did, they made that silly mistake. It was always a silly mistake in their play. No patience, and they paid the eventual price.
Yeah, so depending on the result in the Royals East game, Tuggeranong move into the top 3. If East win, though, Tuggeranong will still be in 4th, and we have a very, very close competition in the Griffin Legal John O. Dent Cup.
Yeah, wonderful.
Excellent. Thanks so much for your time this afternoon, Phil Hawke.
Right, James, it's been enjoyable, mate.
And my name's Kieran Deck. It's been a pleasure having you watch this afternoon in this game. What an excellent display. Stay with us. There's heaps more in this John O. Dent Cup competition brought to you by Griffin Legal. Next week we go to Phillip Oval. It's Royals versus West at Phillip. A grand final rematch. It'll be an interesting one there, so don't miss it. Same time, 3 p.m. next Saturday afternoon. Catch you next time.
We'll see you here again on Saturday.